Hopefully you can hear me pretty good because the wind's blowing pretty hard, but I got my microphone on, so hopefully it'll be good. It's the first time I got it to work in a while, but on a time where I should be making more videos, I've been slacking off and making less. So yeah, here we are now, past all the spawn, most of it anyway. There's still a few that are still hanging around, but for the most part they're done. It's a tough time of year for most of the time. You know, like every once in a while you'll get an awesome day. I heard yesterday was really good, but I wasn't out here. I was on the Chesapeake Bay. So what we got going on now is pretty much a little bit of everything. So I'm gonna go through and give you a couple tips on post spawn that'll hopefully help. Rigged up today on my rods. I got a Senko. I just went back to the Texas rig Senko because there wasn't as much wind earlier. Right now there's more wind, but when that wind slacks off, I try to go to a lighter weight with a Senko. So far today I got 7 bites. Nothing crazy big. I had been catching a couple big ones lately, but they're so spread out all over the place. You got some that are out in 10, 12 foot, some that are in 6 foot, and some that are so close to the bank that you can barely get to them. So you got all 3 stages kind of going on right now. Some of them are moved all the way out. Some of them are still in here garden fry. I'm sure there's still a few on beds too, still. It's the first week of June. So it wouldn't be that crazy to really see them out here, especially since everything's been kind of pushed behind from how much cold we've gotten this year. But one of the biggest tips I can give you also is that I turn my front graph off. Just put it on standby mode, because you got, especially this year with the quarantine, you got 1 million people coming through here. You got boats everywhere, people fishing throughout the grass, so I try to keep it as stealthy as I can. Keep my trolling motor pretty low on low power, use my power poles as much as I can, and definitely turn my graph off because I don't have that pinging going on underneath the boat. I'm really not sure if it even helps at all, but if any bit of help will definitely benefit you, especially when these fish are so spread out. You know, it was an amazing pre-spawn this year. Pre-spawn was one of the best ones I've seen in a long time. A lot of 7, 8, 9 pounders caught. The lake really showed out. As far as numbers wise, the actual spawn wasn't as good as previous years. I mean, we had a lot of fish caught, but the numbers weren't as good as they normally are. I don't know why that is. I don't know if it's, I would assume, if I had to guess, it would be the amount of pressure, because this place has been pressured this year more than any place I've ever seen. But you know, hopefully with people going back to work, it gets a little less pressured, and these fish will start to bite a little bit better. You'll get, like, I mean, you're still should be catching fish, but not the numbers that you're used to, for sure. So what I'm targeting this time of season during the post spawn. Oh, god damn. Excuse me. What I'm targeting during the post spawn is, if you want to catch those bigger females, they don't hang around for too long. There's bluegills up here that are spawning now. So if you feel them bluegill tap on your bait, you definitely want to stay in that area for a little while, because they're around those bluegill that are spawning, trying to, recover from spawning themselves. And those bluegill torment them the entire time. So the bass just kind of pay them back and want to get on their asses. It's an easy meal, they're around beds and they're trying to make babies, and the bass are just fucking with them. So if you're getting bluegill bites, you definitely want to stay in that area for a little bit longer. Bluegill are going to spawn in the same areas that the bass do. You want that hard rock bottom with wood, anything hard for them to spawn on. This black shit is pissing me off, man. I don't know why, but we got this Black Death bullshit that's all over the place in here this year. I mean, it is every year, but not this bad. This shit's crazy. It seems like it's only where fresh water comes in. But anyway, you want that hard bottom, same place that you would find the bass spawn, and they're going to be in the same general areas. During the actual spawn, I don't pay attention to as much hard bottom or deep water access areas as I would, any other time of the year. Now's when you want to start getting back on those areas that are close to deep water again. Like this, I mean, I chose a spot everyone would know where I was at. That way, it doesn't, I could care less if you beat it to shit. But anyway, these are the kind of areas that they're moving to. Especially the bigger females are going to sit on the outside edge, closest, on the flats that are closest to that deep water. So that's kind of what I'm targeting now, is just the outside areas of flats where these fish move in and out of in order to get where they're going and get where they're coming back out. So all those movements that you followed them on going into the coves or going into where they're going to spawn, now you want to focus on the same areas where they were and now where they're coming back out to, because they're going to start making their way out to summer patterns soon. The vast majority of them. There's some of them that are already out there, but there's not many of them. But yeah, if you want to catch your biggest fish, that's definitely what you want to focus on. Turn your graph off. On these wind days when there's not a lot of wind, what I normally do is I go down and wait. So I'll go from a 3/8 to a quarter or something like that, and use a bait that doesn't have as much action, because what's going to happen is they're not going to want to react to a bait with no wind that hits the surface really hard. You want to kind of give them a subtle presence. Seems to help get more bites this time of year. Like I said, there's fish all over the place, from a foot all the way out to 12 foot. Just going to have to focus on the areas that you have been getting bit, and then just follow those out to the edges or to the deepest parts of it, where there's, it might not only be 3 or 4 foot, but it's right next to 10, 15, 20 foot. So they have that security of getting out to deep water. I've heard a lot of people this year have struggled. So I'm trying to help you guys out as far as locations and what to look for. They're definitely going to be near grass, pads, some kind of aquatic vegetation. If it has both, it's even better. And anywhere you see a hole or an opening in the pads or the grass, there's definitely a change there. So that's an area where a lot of my bites have come from, is in the openings. Some people think these fish just come in here, do the deed, and then they're gone back out to where they're going, but that's not the case. It takes a long time for them to get where they're going. Like go a couple yards or 15, 20 yards, stop on an area where they're going to feed, stay there for a week, keep on going another 15 or 20 yards, stop. So you get the point. It takes a little bit for them to get where they're going. Bait is definitely going to be super crucial right now. The spawn it's taxing and it wears on them, so they're going to do anything they can do now in order to feed back up before they start moving out to their summer stuff. But if you find them between where they spawned at and where they're going, you can have a really, really good day and catch a bunch of fish, and some big ones too. Typically around this time you're catching a lot of fry garters, which, if you don't know what that is, after the female hatches her eggs, the male stays around and protects the bed, the female leaves, and then after a couple days of warm weather, the fry hatches. These little tiny bass, they group up in big clouds. You'll see them out here, and you can actually cast to those clouds, and the males that are guarding them sit underneath of them to make sure nothing eats them. And it's a pretty easy bite. If you get near the fry, they're going to eat it most of the time if there's one there. If you throw in that pile of fry 2 or 3 times and you don't get a bite, there's chances are there's either that male's already been caught or he's moved on, because they only stay with that fry until they're big enough to fend for themselves. So it's only like a week or 2 that they're with them, and then they go on about their business and go to feed again. So right now there is some fry. I've seen quite a bit of it. Sure, not all of it's hatched. Like I said, there's still some that are garden beds. Those are probably the ones that I'm catching up in a foot or two of water. But you really want to slow down your presentation too. It's not going to be like a summer bite where you're constantly getting it, you know, as soon as it hits the water, they're eating it. You're not going to get a lot of those bites. Most of them are going to be dragging it on the bottom, but there are going to be a few that are garden fry that will eat it like that as soon as it hits the water if you're near that pot of fry. The holes in the grass, like I said, the holes in the pads, any kind of something different for those fish to magnetize towards. So I'm kind of focusing on all the holes. When there's brush, there's going to be a hole. If there's a big rock there, there's going to be a hole. Any kind of different, something different. The wind's a lot calmer right here, so it's a lot easier to keep my boat in position. I've been having to use the poles all morning because it's been windy as hell out on the main lake. There's Orville just got himself a meal. So there's some bait right there. Those birds will tell you a lot too. I mean, for a Monday, there sure is a lot of people out here, man. It is crazy. Don't understand what the deal is. Yeah, I got a few. I think I got 7 or something like that. Yeah. Oh, really? Yeah, well, that's typical. I know the lake pretty well, so yeah, I do. Yeah, in Harleysville. Yeah. Yeah, I know. A lot of people say it's the Dead Sea. That's not true. That's funny. Lady just said she talked to a bunch of other people and none of them caught anything. It's definitely tough. It's not a easy bite right now. I'm gonna keep you guys on for a little bit longer and just kind of go through what I'm doing. There's carp spawning everywhere too. I'm trying to slow this down as much as I can. Let's see here. Turn around and hit this tree a little bit better. On these trees too, you want to focus on every section of it because you never know where they're going to be. So hit the shallow point of it and then kind of work your way out, or the deep part and then work your way into shallow, whichever way that you want to do it. There's definitely should be a fry garter on this wood. Those fry gravitate towards wood, anything that has shade. You'll see them in the grass too. I mean, a fry garter is really not going to be the big one that you want to catch, but I have seen 5 and 6 pounders garden them before, which I don't know whether they were just eating them or what, but I have seen a few big ones. I don't think they were gardening them. I think they were eating them because they're way too big to be males. Males don't get that big. The female is basically a deadbeat, and she comes and drops her eggs and then she rolls out. She'll drop her eggs on several different beds and then just bounce. She's gone. It's hard to catch for a little while while she recuperates, but you can catch her. Get it in front of her. Almost every bite, actually every bite today has been on the bottom and not on the fall. Hopefully this wind isn't too bad in this microphone. I don't know how it's going to sound. saying anyway. You want to focus your efforts near the flats, but on the deeper ends of them. Like, you know, if there's a flat that's 50 yards, 100 yards long, and then you got where it drops into the channel on both sides of it, on the very ends of it, you want to focus more on those ends than you do the center of it. There are still a lot of fish that are on the centers of it, but the bigger ones are definitely going to be along the outsides. Big rock pile right there that should have one on it but doesn't. Or does and just doesn't want to eat. I don't know. This is coming out of a main creek here. There's a creek that runs back that they spawn in the back of, so I'm at the mouth of it right now, trying to pick off some of these coming out. But we'll see what happens. Sorry it's been so long since I did this, guys. Seriously, I just been kind of in like a slump. Oh God, there's a bite. Just kind of been in a slump with doing videos for a while now, and haven't felt like doing it. It's nothing personal, just sometimes you just don't feel like doing it. It's not like I'm getting paid to do it. Still not back at work either, making us wait till the green, which I'm okay with. I've been fishing a lot, so it's been all right in my book. Catch that fish. I just had a bite up here. Oh, that's another thing too. When they're like up messing with those bluegill, see how that bite came right in that hole too? When they're up here messing with these bluegill, when they hit it, it's gonna almost feel like a bluegill a lot of the time. So give it a second and let them really eat it, because I think they hit the bait, and then they almost, like when they're feeding on bluegill, they turn it around in their mouth, and you can miss a lot of them if you set the hook too quick. So just give it like a second. Oh, you bitch! I saw him that time. You're gonna lose a lot of them. He ain't gonna bite again. I just hooked him. Because of that reason, they hit it like 2 or 3 times, turn it around in their mouth, and if you pull it the wrong time, you're fucked. But I totally just hooked that one. He ain't coming back for that. See if I can catch another one right here. There's a little flat right here, so there should be some still on this flat too. It wasn't a big one. I seen them. It was like 1.5 pounds. They're all fun to catch though. See if we can catch another one on here for you guys. I mean, it is Monday, and the parking lot right now behind me is completely full. It's ridiculous. I mean, it's good. Don't get me wrong. I'm not hating. I'm just saying the lake is getting its ass beat. Like, beat bad this year. And I don't care what lake it is. It's eventually gonna make a difference. You know what I mean? Like, these fish can't sustain to being pressured and beat on and hooked, and they just won't do it. They'll become real fickle. Well, next thing you know, we'll be having to use 8-pound tests just to get a bite. But yeah, this is the kind of stuff that I'm focusing on anyway. Like I said, this is a flat. There's a piece of wood right in here. This is just a small flat off the channel. And there's a couple pieces of wood and some rocks and stuff up here, so anything for them to gravitate towards, there's going to be some bass. Now, whether they bite when you're there or not, that's a different story. But you got to fish to find out. If I would expect to get a bite, it's going to be up here where there's a couple stumps. I should have lost that fish back there. It was stupid. But yeah, I was since the water's up in it's like 70 something now. Since the water was up, I did start throwing a creature bait a lot more and stopped throwing the Senko or a rodent, something with less action, and started throwing something with more action. But then, like I said today, seems like they want something more subtle, which they probably would eat a creature bait. I just couldn't get them to eat it. But then as soon as I started throwing something with less action with the Senko, they started to eat. So I don't know if it was just a timing thing or if it was actually the bait. We're fixing to find out. There was a lot of kayakers out too. Alright, come on fish, give me a bite while we're on here. Another thing that's really good right now would be any kind of isolated pad groups, because again, it's a change in bottom. If you have nothing, and then you have a bunch of isolated pads, the reason why they're there is because something changes right there. Those are all like high percentage targets. If you guys hear my line, it's because I am doing an experiment for the next couple weeks. I'm using braid to a fluorocarbon leader to see if I get as many bites, or if it's just something that's in my head, because I would like to use braid with a leader on it in grass and pads, because it's a lot for fluorocarbon. You lose a lot of fish that way. Because you just don't have the ass that you need to pull through it. Some isolated pads right here. I'm going to spin around and hit this again in a second because I just blew right by it. A 40-pound braid to a 17-pound fluoro leader and a 3/0 flipping hook with a 3/8 weight, not pegged. I normally do peg it, but I didn't have any pegs left, so I threw it not pegged, which doesn't really bother me that much. When you get in grass, it gets hung up a lot more when you're throwing it without a peg. A couple stumps right here. I'm going to hit these real quick. There's a little bit of isolated grass that's out a little further that you can't see because the water just came up a little bit. But I mean, my boat right now, I'm sitting at 6 foot. It dips down pretty fast, but this is a good little edge right here that the big ones will get on every now and again. There should be some fish coming up out of the back. I know there was a lot spawning back there because I had caught them while they were spawning. There should be some coming back out soon, if not now. Who knows? I mean, this weekend got its ass whooped, though. It makes Mondays difficult because all these fish get their ass beat. I'm sure every lake in the United States is like that right now. Thank God this microphone started working again, man, because it sucks without it. You wouldn't be able to hear anything I'm saying right now. See, look, isolated patches of pads right in front of us with some wood. Yeah, we're fixing to stick one right here. That's like the perfect post-spawn type of deal right here. Sorry, man, the remote keeps banging from the microphone. Yeah, stick a good one on this kind of stuff this time of year too. I don't see any fry either over here, down here. That doesn't mean it's not here, just I can't see any of it. Water's a little dirtier down this way. Come on. The one thing I noticed as I've been using this braid to fluorocarbon is I broke the leader a few times already, and I don't know if it's because I have my drag set too tight. I'm used to cinching my drag down and just ripping on them, but with this it seems like I have to use my drag a little more so that braid doesn't just burn straight through the fluorocarbon. But today I haven't had any issues. I've set the hook on quite a few of them and never had a problem. So I don't notice a difference in less bites either, but then again, I don't know either, you know. But if I were to get one or two bites throughout the day, then yeah, I would switch right back. But I'm still getting a decent amount of bites, so I don't think it's really affecting it all that much. I still don't have the nerve to go to straight braid and try that. I just have like zero confidence using braid flipping, but I will eventually try it just to see what happens. I know there's guys out here that fish with straight braid and never have an issue. So I'm sure it really doesn't cause a problem. It's probably more something I'm not comfortable with than anything. It's a nice little turn right here with a little pocket back here. The problem with this lake is everything looks good. You know, and I've pretty much caught fish from one end to the other. There's not a bank where I haven't caught a fish. So there's plenty of areas in this lake to fish, but there's definitely areas where bigger ones prefer over the small ones. They need a little bit more, I guess, to survive than the other ones. And having muskies in here doesn't help the cause either, because it puts them on edge all the time, so it makes them a little harder to bite. Because you got to think they're trying to save their own ass from getting eaten. And I don't care what anyone says, a muskie will eat a bass quick. I've seen many of them mauled. It's fucking black shit, man. I cannot stand this black shit. It drives me to not even want to fish it.